So, sorry. It's the piracy show today. In the absence of ship updates, piracy show. And I talked about kind of the base building, the little tidbits, the little snippets that Chris Roberts gave us in Pillar Talk, talking about, setting up their homestead. And this is kind of one of the future benefits of the persistent system that comes in with the beginning of financial persistence, which is what we are seeing right now. Asterisk may not be persistent. We know that, and we're not making fun of development. Things happen. They may have to do a reset on individuals or, system-wide. We don't know, but seemingly with 3.9, we are headed down this road. What we already have now, plus what we will build up in the interim until 3.9 releases a month from now, we will, we will be able to continue building that up. But when I was thinking about housing and how they could implement it, I started kind of thinking, what would be an easy way to implement it? Because obviously the asteroid base is an idea that I've talked about in the past, something that I would love to see. But then something occurred to me, and it kind of annoyed me. It was late last night, and I kind of went like, oh shit, you know what would be a really good way to do it? And I think that they pretty much have all the assets to make it work already. Think about it this way. So for the legitimate player, let's say you're one of the people who bought one of the land claims back at the Pioneer sale. You own your 8x8, your 4x4, or your 2x2 plot of land. I forget if there was other denominations. I think, no, it was whatever. Doesn't, neither here nor there. You got your chunk of land, right? What if they made it so that, for the legitimate players, you go to ArcCorp, you go to wherever there's a land claim office in one of the big legitimate landing areas in the game. You say, okay, I staked my claim here on Daymar or Lyria or wherever. I own this land. And from there, in that shop, the same way you go and you shop for armor or things like that, you can purchase and roughly configure from the myriad of prefabricated structures that we currently have. In the future, it'll obviously be a system that is much more in depth, but right now, these are the things that you could buy, and there's an hour countdown that starts from the server, and then from there on in, attached to your character, at that location is your base, and that place would be bookmarked, so you could just quantum to it, blah, 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 and there it would be. And you could, in the beginning, it could have, whatever modules you need. Do you need something for storage? Do you need something for maybe doing a little mineral processing? Whatever, wherever, just to kind of get that system, up and running, and then see what it really needs later on. I thought, that would be a really easy way to do it for legitimate players. I think that would be reasonable in the absence of having a ship that can either build it or deliver it, which may or may not come anytime soon. What if, if you just had to wait a while and then it would be delivered while you were off doing something else? I think we could all accept that as not being immersion breaking for the time being. And that would be very interesting. I think that would be a very interesting idea. But for the legally unbound players out there, I was thinking like, well, how do you make it work for them? I mean, how do you really make a land claim somewhere? Because technically, even if you kind of went and you plunked something down, let's say through the the illegal prefab office on Grim Hex, probably you go there to that location, you plunk something down, someone sees that and they goes, well, there's a structure here, but it's unclaimed, so I plunk my thing down and now I claim the land, so that structure belongs to me. It really wouldn't work, right? And then I thought about it. What if, the comms array satellites that we have, the missions for that are really not even worth doing anymore, those communications array missions, and those arrays, what if there were derelict communications arrays floating around in space? What if there were places like, Gundo Kovalex floating around in the star system, abandoned stations, relics of, previous industrial endeavors of varying sizes and complexities that were just kind of abandoned and are now kind of floating freely in the solar system out of the major space lanes, waiting to eventually just, with gravity, just tumble into the sun. But, someone at Grim Hex, say Rudo or something, has those things mapped out, and for a fair chunk of change, you can find out where it is. You can go in, power it back up, stabilize it in its orbit in a place where no one else knows that it is, and then you have access to a Gundo Kovalex, or even something like a little comms array with just a little landing pad attached to it, and you can make that into a house out of that kind of abandoned structure. The benefit for you would be, since you don't fall within the legal parameters or protections that would be afforded to a player who makes an official land claim, you risk having your stuff destroyed. But at the same time, if you're outside of the comms array satellite kind of coverage area, you're off on your own. No one can see where you are, and you can kind of set up your own little thing, and then maybe in the future a little drug lab or just a little place to store your ill-begotten goods while you kind of gather up a bunch of things to deliver it all at once on a bigger ship. Something like that. I think that would be a really cool idea. Like, that is one of the places that, back in the day, back in 2.0 and whatnot, I used to do that Gundo Kovalex mission a heck of a lot, and I think I've done it a couple of times recently just out of boredom. But to kind of take a place like that that's been thoroughly thrashed and rebuild it to make your own little mini Grim Hex in the Star Citizen universe out of one of these thrashed places would be pretty awesome. I think that would be a good idea, and since they kind of have the assets already, I think it could be really, really cool. Especially if, you take out the whole core part of the comms array satellite and maybe take the lower part and kind of drill down into it and make a few lockers to store things in. Maybe a little bit of a cargo space and a couple of bunk beds tied up along the wall, like just a hammock hanging there, and you just restore gravity so that it works, and you're not just, a hammock in 0G, which is completely unnecessary, but you know what I mean? Something like that. I think that would be a really cool idea. I would love to see that. And if like a legitimate player, like a law-abiding player was like, actually, no, I would want that too. If they can go and do like 1 or 2 missions for Rudo, which aren't that hard to unlock, and you don't technically have to break the law to do them. I mean, you break the law, but you don't get caught, right? And once you kind of open up that vendor, then you can say, hey, and I can have my own derelict base too, if I so choose. Having something like that, having like kind of a unique place that's unique to yourself where you can log into the Star Citizen universe and start your adventures for the day, I think would be really, really cool. And I don't think that you would run into the kind of issues that you may run into where, let's say, you both live in the apartment building on ArcCorp, and maybe by some strange coincidence you both end up being assigned the same suite. So how do you get in and out of your own room when someone else is in it, and that sort of thing? I think it solves a lot of those problems. I think having unique startup places for players other than, say, Grim Hex or Olisar or ArcCorp or wherever is definitely a good idea as well. So I don't know. I mean, let me know what you think. But this is something that, when I thought of it, I went, damn, that's what I want. That's really what I want, is I want to be able to take over a derelict space station. And I'm not talking about something grandiose and huge like Korea. Unless they say they will let us do something like Korea, then yeah. But, something reasonable. Even a little comms array satellite that I could kind of airlock my Herald to or something. Well, not the Herald, but the Cutlass or something like that. That would be pretty cool. I would like to see that. I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hope you get some ship updates next time.